Israel's Negev Desert is the least crowded part of a notoriously crowded country. Yet even here, people compete for territory. These Bedouin demand the right to live on their ancestral land. The government calls them invaders and wants to bulldoze them into submission.
אני צריך לבצע את החוק, ואם היה קורה כזה דבר באוסטרליה, זה היה בדיוק קורה אותו דבר.
There are quite remarkable similarities between Australia and Israel.
Now, a legal challenge, partly inspired by Australia, could change everything.
We think there is no better example of correct application of the Mabo principle as here in the Negev.
And this veteran activist is being hailed as a Bedouin Eddie Mabo.
اليوم أنا بواجه دولة إسرائيل شخص مواطن بسيط لا يملك شيء.
This patch of desert outside Beersheba is more fiercely contested than anywhere else in the Negev. The Bedouin call it Al-Arakib. Nuri El-Okbi was born on this land, but in 1951, when he was only 9 years old, the military authorities expelled all the Bedouin from here. They've never been allowed to return.
Nuri, I wanted you to tell me, if you could, where the boundaries of your land is.
For 30 years, Nuri has struggled to reclaim his family's land.
ולא רק אני איבדתי אבא שלי, סבא שלי, סבא של אבא שלי, זה מה שאני יודע.
Now he's enlisted expert help for a court case. Professor Oren Yiftachel teaches geography at Ben Gurion University. And Professor John Sheehan is an expert on native title from Sydney.
So to be clear then that there was a system of land law that the Bedouin operated under.
כל אזרח פה יודע את חלקת אדמתו ואת הגבולות שלה.
In 2006, after years of pleading with the authorities, Nuri decided to take action.
See, this is the place for 4 years Nuri lived here.
Right.
He pitched a tent next to his father's land and began a 4-year occupation.
And they
תסתכל כמה חבלים,
burnt it a couple of times, yeah.
כמה חתכו, כמה חבלים. כל פעם לקחו לי יותר מ-40 פעם לקחו את האוהל.
Every time police arrested him and pulled down his tent, Nuri returned.
נורי לוגבי פורע חוק. נורי לוגבי הואשם בעבירות פליליות. וככה אני מתייחס אליו.
Shlomo Caesar works for the Israel Land Administration, which manages public land. When I first met him, he was supervising the removal of trees planted by the Bedouin.
Do you accept that Nuri and his family were living at El-Arakib at that time?
זה מה שהוא אומר. זה מה שאומר נורי לוגבי. אני לא הייתי אז, אני לא יודע.
Look.
After many arrests, a court order prevents Nuri from returning here unless he's escorted by one of his brothers.
How does it feel, Nuri, to be a prisoner on your own land?
עצוב מאוד, עצוב.
Very, very sad, yeah.
שאני בא לי כאן ואני רץ בפני, אני רואה את אבא שלי, את אמא שלי, את האחים, את הילדות שלי פה שהייתי.
Even with his brother here, Nuri's not allowed to set foot on the land he's claiming, where the ruins of his father's house still stand.
So this is John where you say archaeology will be helpful.
Absolutely.
To age it, to see, you know, the structure, what are the stones, how, you know, they show the indigenous nature.
The family home used to be surrounded by fruit trees. It was destroyed in 1951 when the tribe was moved off the land.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هذا بيت المرحوم الشيخ سليمان محمد العقدي 1914 1993 ميلادي.
While Nuri can only gaze at the ruins of his family home from a distance, bulldozers erase the Bedouin presence from another part of Al-Araqib. They're destroying a home and uprooting hundreds of olive trees. The Israel Land Administration has a court order saying the farmers are here illegally.
Hey. What? You said we had a couple of minutes.
No.
The police supervising the operation don't want me here. Then a young Bedouin man arrives. It's his family who farms this land.
الو والله زي الزبل.
Born on this land 6 years before Israel was created, Mohammed El Turi can only watch as years of labour are swept away by the bulldozers.
كلام فاضي هذا. يعني ودهم بلاد دون عباد. هذا الصحيح. أنا وين اترك بهدم فالعنب. شوف العنب وين هو؟ ها؟
The most serious confrontation between the government and the Bedouin takes place here, at the village of Al-Araqib. Just a few hours ago, this village was demolished for the 7th time. And for the 7th time, the villagers are starting to rebuild. Al-Araqib is at the centre of a vicious circle. Since July last year, every time the state has destroyed their homes, the Bedouin have built new ones from the ruins. It's something that frustrates the Israel Land Administration's Shlomo Tziza.
וכל שנה הם פולשים, אנחנו מפנים, הם פולשים, אנחנו מפנים. אנחנו לא ניתן שיפלשו לקרקע הזאת, לא נורי, לא אלתורי ולא יעקב או משה.
Isn't it strange to describe someone as invading land that they grew up on, that was taken from them?
ואם בית המשפט השלום והמחוזי והעליון קבע שהם פולשים ואין להם שום זכות בשטח, בשבילי זה סוף פסוק.
Shlomo Tziza's office at the Israel Land Administration looks out over the Beersheba District Court. It's become a graveyard for Bedouin land cases.
In the Negev itself, the state has won 190 out of 190 cases. This is 100% records, which shows that the legal system, surely something is distorted here.
The Israeli government says it's just upholding laws that applied when the Negev was ruled by the British, and before that, the Ottoman Empire.
So the Bedouin are essentially trespassing. They are invaders on their own land under Israeli law.
Absolutely, and that even worse, they're trespassers on land that they've been trespassing for generations without knowing that they're trespassers, according to Israeli law, because they said since 1858 you have been trespasser. You didn't know about it, the Ottomans didn't tell you, the British didn't tell you, but now we're telling you, you're trespassers and you have to move out.
Nuri, your family has actually been trespassing here for 150 years.
למה 150? אולי יש 400 שנה.
לא, אבל מאז שהעות'מאנים חוקקו את החוק.
לא, אבל העות'מאנים לא לקחו לנו אף שעל אחד. هاي شوف كل هذه المستندات مش مكفي إسرائيل، مش مكفي إسرائيل تعترف لنا بأرضنا.
For a so-called trespasser, Nuri Elokbi has a lot of documents to back up his claim.
المالكون مكتوب ب3 لغات، باللغة الإنجليزية، باللغة الإنجليزية، باللغة العربية وباللغة العبرية.
There are records of land sales and tax payments here, evidence that the authorities recognised the family's presence at Al-Araqib until 1951.
صورة لقريتنا من 12/49. 12 بتشوف هان مخازن الغلة، هان مخازن الغلة، وهان السكنة، هان السكنة تبعتنا، الناس ساكنين. كان أكثر من 1000 بني آدم، 1000 نفس عايشين في هذه القرية، دمروها.
טוב, מה שיש לי זה את התרגום של דוכן.
Nuri's now back in court, and defending him is Michael Sfat, one of Israel's top human rights lawyers. He's hoping to be the first lawyer to win a Bedouin land rights case.
When I came to the issue of Bedouin land in the Negev, I was mesmerized.
Sfat says Israel relies on a 19th century Ottoman law declaring uncultivated land to be mawat, or dead. It sounds a lot like Australia's terra nullius, or empty land doctrine, used for so many years to deny Aboriginal land rights.
This is exactly what the state of Israel is now arguing about the Negev. Physically it was empty, there was no cultivation, there was no inhabitation, and legally it was empty, no rights, no titles. So the similarities are quite astonishing.
And of course the reason why we could occupy, or the British could occupy the continent of Australia, was because of this Latin phrase terra nullius, a vacant land, no one's place.
Driving the similarities home is Professor John Sheehan, an authority on native title compensation in Australia. Do you seriously think that Nuri's case could end up being the Bedouin equivalent of Mabo?
I think there's a distinct possibility it could be. If it's presented in that manner that I've proposed, I think that there is a distinct possibility that it could be a benchmark case.
And Israel actually stripped off the autonomy that the Bedouins had for generations and generations.
Professor Oren Yiftachel, the key expert in Nuri's defence team, says governments in Israel have done something the Australians never did.
They created terra nullius in reverse. They created terra nullius, that is empty land, the concept that the land was empty. But neither the Ottomans nor the British ever claimed the land was empty.
But Shlomo Tziza from the Israel Land Administration believes the Bedouin are on the losing side of history. According to his bizarre logic, even Australian history.
במלחמת העולם הראשונה שירתו בצבא הבריטי חיילים אוסטרליים וניו זילנדים מכוח האנזק. בזמן שהחיילים שם חפרו חפירה לתעלות שלהם, הם חשפו רצפת פסיפס יפהפייה של כנסייה נוצרית. אז אני חושב שאם כבר אז לחיילים האוסטרלים יש יותר זכויות מאשר לבדואים פה במדינת ישראל.
After yet another demolition at Al Araqib, protesters line the main road. The police arrive to keep an eye on things. The village leader, Sheikh Sayach Al-Turi, is defiant.
كل من يبني لعند 100 مرة هم يهدوا واحنا نبني، فهم هدموا 7 مرات ظلا 93 مرة.
We are spitting to the well that we are drinking from. Zionist movement is all about people getting the right to live in their homeland. And here we ourselves deny indigenous people the acknowledgement that they are indigenous people. We may be indigenous people of Israel and the Bedouins indigenous people of Israel from 2 different eras. Make no mistake, the 2 truths can live together.